Last on Rich Man, Poor Man, Book 2.
Dillon's just called a special meeting of the subcommittee.
Why wasn't I informed?
A reliable rumor has it he's out to quash the whole Estep investigation, and he doesn't want you there to oppose it.
Now, I demand right now that you produce evidence that Tricor is guilty of subverting public servants and due process.
Can't, Senator. It would cost too much.
Cost? Now he's worried about cost. How much?
Another life.
Charles, Joe Dash knows that I'm on your payroll. And he's threatened to tell the world unless I resign.
You're staying.
Are you talking to some janitor or to a United States senator?
If you're on my payroll, no difference.
Why did Falconetti call me?
Forget Falconetti. Where's Claire? Raymond, that was a Senate subpoena. A Senate subpoena. If we don't find her, they will.
It'll cost you.
How much?
Well, I don't look up G in the phone book for under 500.
500.
What's the name?
Falconetti. Anthony Falconetti.
I'm not a burglar.
You're whatever you have to be.
The depositions, when they're not with Rudy, they're locked up someplace. I mean, I haven't even been able to find out where.
How about that problem you were having? Work itself out?
I think it's about to. John Franklin.
Thank you.
Then I want those Justice Department prosecutors called, one after another.
They'll deny everything.
Oh, I want them to. That way we'll have two shots at them, before they know what we have, and after Franklin testifies they accepted bribes from Charles Estep.
You're learning fast, Senator.
Had a pretty fair teacher, Senator.
How's your stomach?
Somewhere around my Adam's apple.
Opening night jitters. This is a big moment for you, Rudy. The right kind of investigation can make a political career. Look what Alger Hiss did for Mr. Nixon.
I'm not interested in emulating Mr. Nixon. All I want to do is give Charles Estep a taste of prison food. Ben? Have you made a decision yet about the distinguished senator from Oklahoma?
Dillon's a bona fide member of the committee.
He's also a $100,000 a year consultant to one of Estep's industries.
There's no law against a senator or any other elected public official working for a private company.
Oh, come off it, Ben. You sound like a press release from Dillon's office. That elected official happens to be sitting on a committee that's investigating his employer. You think we might have a slight conflict of interest there?
If you've got the proof, Rudy, all Dillon can do is huff and puff.
If he does any more than that, I'm gonna blow the whistle on him.
Rudy, the Senate is the most exclusive club in the world. One member does not publicly embarrass another.
Embarrass him with what? Facts?
Senator, a word of advice from a man who's been hanging his hat in this place a hell of a lot longer than you have. Don't make an issue out of Dillon's connection with Estep.
Afraid I'll be drummed out of the club?
Gets awfully cold outside, Rudy. Man could freeze to death before his term was over.
Hello, Senator.
Raymond. Morning, Charles.
Morning.
I got the order of witnesses. Raymond's first, you're next, and then your wife.
Claire's still missing.
I've got a doctor standing by to testify that she's in a Dallas hospital recuperating from, what do we decide?
Hepatitis.
Hepatitis.
No, if Jordache wants her bad enough, he'll fly this whole committee down to that hospital. It's going to be a little embarrassing to find nothing there but an empty bed.
One step at a time, Senator. Right now, I want to know what Jordache is going to hit us with.
Well, the Justice Department payoffs for one thing.
What else?
Oh, now, let's don't blow that by so fast, Charles. Can he prove that you bribed those fellows?
That is not my main concern.
Franklin can prove it.
And he'll be taken care of. I need to know what other areas Jordache is going into.
Oh, well, I'm afraid that's still a mystery, Charles.
Senator, I don't pay you $100,000 a year for that kind of answer.
Charles, I swear that Jordache has that evidence sewn up in his shorts. Nobody's seen it except Paxton.
Look, it's obvious he didn't subpoena Claire to talk about bribery in the Justice Department. He knows her father's Albert Dietrich. By now, he's probably got the whole thing put together.
Who's Albert Dietrich?
You wouldn't want to know, Senator.
Charles, I have grave misgivings about this whole thing. I am a sitting duck up there on that committee. If Jordache brings out our association, I could be looking for a job come next election.
And if certain information gets out, I could spend the better part of my life in prison. If I don't get lynched first. I tell you what you're going to have to do, Senator. You're going to have to oil up that famous Oklahoma drawl. And every time Jordache gets even that far away from an open nerve, well, you're going to have to get yourself to talking like your life depended on it. Right? How was your flight?
How do you think it was? 2,000 miles of that thing over my face? I didn't know whether I'd die of suffocation or go crazy with claustrophobia.
You were the one who wanted these precautions.
I know. 2 days with Charles in Dallas, I didn't want to take any chances.
What did he want?
Supposedly to go over my testimony. He asked for the memos he wrote, directing me to open Swiss bank accounts for those Justice Department lawyers.
Did you give them to him?
No, I told him I'd already destroyed them.
Where are they?
He knows
Knows what?
that we've been talking.
That's impossible.
I'm telling you, Charles knows.
What makes you think that?
I don't know, it's just a feeling. Just an instinct. Nothing he said, nothing he did. Just the way he looked at me.
Senator Paxton and I are the only ones who know about you.
How can you be so sure? He got to Sarah Hunt before you could talk to her. Now she's dead.
Franklin, if Estep knew, if he even suspected you were going to testify against him, you wouldn't be here. Now, I rented a house outside of Washington for you. One of my aides will be with you every minute.
You sure he can't get to me?
I'm positive.
All right. I've gone this far. I might as well see it through.
Gentlemen, I think we have enough pictures. Let's get on with it.
I do solemnly swear that the information I'm about to give is to the best of my knowledge, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
State your name for the record, please.
Arthur Raymond.
Mr. Raymond, where are you employed?
I'm a vice president of Tricor International.
Mr. Raymond, do you know a Justice Department prosecutor by the name of Bruce Carter?
Not to my knowledge.
Do you know a man by the name of John Franklin?
I believe he's also an employee of Tricor.
On June 15th of last year, did John Franklin give you $5,000 to open a Swiss bank account for Bruce Carter?
Not to my knowledge.
Mr. Raymond, I have here copies of plane tickets in your name for a June 15th flight to Zurich, Switzerland.
I took a vacation in Switzerland around that time.
Let me warn the witness. Failure to answer this committee's questions fully and truthfully could result in a contempt citation.
I am aware of that, Senator.
Then you deny setting up a Swiss bank account for Bruce Carter or any other member of the Justice Department?
I do.
All right, he's on the record. We'll nail him after Franklin testifies.
Mr. Raymond, before you joined Charles Estep's company, where were you employed?
I was in the government.
Doing what?
I was in the immigration department.
Are you familiar with the name Albert Dietrich?
Now, is this another one of those Justice Department lawyers?
We're about to find out, Senator.
No, I am not familiar with that name.
What about Claire Dietrich? That ring a bell?
No.
Mr. Chairman.
In 1949, Claire Dietrich entered this country under the Displaced Persons Act.
Point of information.
According to the record, you were the immigration officer who heard the case.
Well, what on God's green earth has that got to do with corruption in the
Senator, I'm trying to pursue a line of questioning.
It sounds more like you're tripping down the yellow brick road chasing after some poor little refugee.
Gentlemen, could we confine our remarks to the issues
Well,
at hand?
Mr. Chairman, isn't it enough that he slings mud at the Justice
Will you
Department
allow me to question this
without
witness?
one shred of proof, and now to waste this committee's time on frivolity?
I'm warning you.
This committee will recess for lunch. Sergeant at Arms, clear the room. Now listen, you two. I don't want to see that sort of display again.
Dylan, you're doing everything you can to sandbag these hearings.
You don't need a bit of help from me on that, Sonny. You're doing just great all by yourself.
Cut it out, damn it!
Now, look, Ben, you lock up the evidence from half of this committee. Very well, we follow you along like a bunch of sheep, but I have been sitting here all morning, and I have yet to see, hear, or smell one piece of new evidence.
If you'd shut your mouth long enough to let me finish a line
Rudy.
of questioning, I
Don't
assure you
you
I'll give
tell
you enough
me,
evidence.
don't you tell me how to behave myself
I'm
in front
not
of
telling you, Estep is.
Every time that you fall on your face in a witness, you start harping about me and Estep. Well, I'm sick of it. Yes, I'm sick of it.
Rudy, come on.
Then resign, Dylan, because I'm not letting up.
There's no way you can run me off this committee.
No?
No way.
Watch me.
Rudy. Rudy!
What was it all about, Senator? Who's this Dietrich you keep bringing
You
up?
want a statement, you've got it.
Over here.
Corruption not only exists in the Justice Department, unfortunately, it reaches into the United States Senate. For the past 5 years, the senior senator from Oklahoma has been on Charles Estep's payroll. Senator Dillon's loyalty, not to mention his motives, is obviously in question. And as far as I'm concerned, he cannot be sufficiently objective to serve on a committee that's investigating his employer. So in the interests of a fair and unbiased hearing into the activities of Charles Estep, I am urging the senator to remove himself from this committee. Thank you very much.
Who said senators were dull?
Kate.
I'd love to.
What?
Let you buy me lunch?
I'm afraid I don't have time, much as I'd like to.
Oh, you've got to eat. I could hear your stomach rumbling in the gallery. Definitely not good for your image, Senator. Besides, you're taking me to my favorite restaurant.
Well, all right, half an hour maybe.
It's better.
Oh, whoa, that's enough.
Well, how do you like it?
It's a little drafty.
Well, there's one like it in every city if you know where to look.
I thought you were going back to Colorado.
Was?
Somebody hijacked your plane?
No, I've just never been to Washington before. Ah, my favorite table. Thought I'd come to Washington and see the junior senator from New York in action.
How am I doing, Coach?
Looking good.
I felt good until Dillon started his filibuster. Kate, why did you come? Really?
Impulse.
What kind?
I never stop to question my impulses. I just follow them.
Well, I'm glad.
Would it be bad form for me to ask where Maggie is?
She's in New York.
Oh. Well, let's go. Time to get the bad guys. Did I say something wrong?
That's the last thing Tom said to me. Before he died.
Yeah.
Corruption not only exists in the Justice Department, unfortunately, it reaches into the United States Senate. For the past 5 years, the senior senator from Oklahoma has been on Charles Estep's payroll.
What is it?
Senator Dillon's loyalty, not
All
to
right,
mention
Senator.
his motives, is obviously in question. And as far as I'm concerned, he cannot be sufficiently objective to serve on a committee that's investigating his employer. So in the interest
Hi.
of a fair and unbiased hearing into the activities of Charles
I hope I'm not interrupting anything.
urging the senator to remove himself.
No, I was just catching up on some news.
Thank you very much.
We will
Sit down.
continue our TV coverage tomorrow at 10.
Thanks.
When the committee convenes again to continue these hearings. If today's session is an example of what's to come, tomorrow
How is everything?
many more heated exchanges between
Probably a lot worse than I think.
Senator Dillon.
How's everything with you?
Great. Terrific.
You look lousy, Diane.
You always knew just the right thing to say to a girl.
Well, you never responded to the really good lines I threw out. So I figured I'd try a little honesty. What's the matter?
It's everything. Everything fell apart with my mother. She tried to ship me off to boarding school.
You don't like fresh air, hot meals, and neat friends?
Don't make fun of me.
I'm sorry. I'm not making fun. I've been there. What do you want from me? Getaway money?
Wes,
What?
I've been trying to find Wes
Why?
because I want to see him. I just don't know where to start or who to ask.
Why do I come to me? Wes and I got a jump on World War III, remember? I'm the last person he'd send a postcard to.
Yeah, but you know people who can find out things like that.
Diane, Wes has got his own problems.
Billy, I had something special with Wes. And I just want to find out if he felt the same way, too. If not, if he says no, I'll leave him alone. I swear I will. Will you help me? Will you ask some people? Billy, I don't have anybody else but him. Please help me.
He's in Vegas.
What?
Wes is in Las Vegas.
Good afternoon, sir. Eddie, you got something?
Yeah.
What's that?
The 500 you gave me, I'm giving it back.
Why?
That guy that you wanted me to find.
Falconetti.
No, he don't exist.
What the hell are you talking about, man?
I mean, just take the 5 bills, okay?
I don't want them. I want Falconetti.
Forget about him, I have.
Listen to me, you creep.
Hey, what are you complaining about? I didn't even take out for expenses.
What turned you off making $500?
He's too well connected, man. You go after him, it's like shaving with a broken bottle. You end up knee-deep in your own blood.
Who's he connected to?
I don't remember names. Payne, that's what I remember.
We made a deal. Here's my end. Now you keep yours.
Man, just please, don't even try to get in touch with me. I mean, I believe it or not, I got a wife and kids.
Who knows you're in Vegas?
Just you and Mr. Estep.
No one else?
Look, I didn't take out ads when I left Hoboken.
There's some blonde kid asking questions about you.
You kidding?
Any idea who he is?
Nope.
Falconetti, if you're lying to me...
Hey! It's not Falconetti. Remember? It's Fallon. Bill Fallon.
I'm going to try to talk to you like you got something besides toilet paper between your ears. Now, there's a murder warrant out on you. That Schwartzy you iced in Hoboken.
But me?
Yeah, that's why I've been handed a job of putting a blanket over you. That's why you're up here guarding an empty suite so nobody can see you, capiche?
Yeah, capiche, capiche, capiche.
Now, we're going to start from the top. Who's the blonde kid? And why is he so hot to find you?
Oh, come on. Look, if I knew who the kid was, I would tell you.
Give me your gun. Give me. No. You know, I don't think you would tell me. I think you're certifiable.
And what?
Nuts, cuckoo, bug house. Now we're going to play truth or consequences. Who's the blonde kid?
Mr. Estep is not going to like it if there is a bullet in that chamber.
Mr. Estep isn't going to know anything about it. You're just going to disappear, and I ain't going to know where you went. Now, who's the blonde kid? Gee, I guess you really don't know. As soon as you finish your shift, go back to your room and stay there.
And you founded Tricor International 9 years ago, is that correct, Mr. Estep?
Yes.
What was the initial capitalization?
Approximately $6 million.
Where did the money come from?
Various sources.
According to the notice of incorporation you filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission, no one took back any stock in your company as collateral against a loan.
That is correct.
Then apparently somebody just gave you $6 million to start Tricor.
A great many people believed in me, Senator.
Was one of them Albert Dietrich?
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that name.
He's your wife's father, isn't he?
No, you've been misinformed. My wife's father was the late Ernest West.
Your wife entered this country under the name of Claire Dietrich, did she not?
No, my wife was born in
Mr. West,
Baltimore, Maryland, under the name Claire West.
Mr. Chairman, a point of personal privilege.
The chair recognizes the senator from Oklahoma.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, a short while ago, my colleague from New York issued a vicious, unfounded attack against me, and it is my duty to respond to that attack.
Now, Senator?
Right now, Senator. The esteemed junior senator from New York recklessly has charged that I am nothing but a corrupt pawn of Charles Estep. And of that slanderous accusation, I wish to state publicly that until he walked into this room this day, I never before in all my life laid eyes on Charles Estep, and that should put the lie to rest forever. But I want to add that occasionally I give legal advice to various companies, as do many of my fellow senators. One of those companies, it happens, is owned by Charles Estep. Conflict of interest? Hardly. Because my main function is to prevent those companies from violating any federal regulation. So in a very real sense, I am working for the people of this country, and not for Charles Estep.
Then you had your say in the whole.
On the other hand, my esteemed colleague and accuser, until very recently was the owner of an electronics company, which company depended mainly, if not entirely, for its existence on U.S. government contracts. Well, I would be the last man on earth to suggest when a defense appropriation bill came up that the esteemed senator saw dollar signs like visions of sugar plums dance in his eyes. But others might not be so kind. They might remind the senator of people who live in glass houses. I'll be content to say that the senator's house has a suspicious number of broken window panes. And I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The chair apologizes for the interruption.
I found it rather educational, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sure you did. Sarah Hunt was your executive secretary, was she not?
Yes, she was.
In that capacity, would you say she had access to your most personal and confidential files?
No, I would not.
In addition to being her employer, did you have any other relationship with Miss Hunt?
I did not.
Then can you explain how she would know that your wife's father was Albert Dietrich?
Miss Hunt spent the last several months of her life in a sanitarium being treated for a mental disorder.
Can you tell me how she would know that Tricor was built on, quote, blood and bodies, unquote?
As I just pointed out, Senator, Sarah Hunt was emotionally unstable. That is why I discharged her.
Are you sure you didn't discharge her because she threatened to expose your bribery of various Justice Department prosecutors?
No.
Because she was bitter and vindictive over the fact that you tired of her as your mistress?
That is a lie.
Mr. Estep, are you denying that you and Sarah Hunt had a long-standing sexual relationship that lasted almost until the day she died?
Yes, I am.
In Mrs. Hunt's deposition, she states that on more than one occasion you were an overnight guest in her daughter's apartment. An apartment leased in Sarah Hunt's name but paid for by you. Now, would that explain how Miss Hunt could have special interest and knowledge not normally in the realm of a secretary?
I respectfully decline to answer that question.
On what grounds?
My attorney informs me that it's not proper subject for these hearings.
The chair will decide what is proper, Mr. Estep. You will answer the question as put forth.
She had no personal intimate knowledge.
Mr. Estep, are you denying that she wasn't privy to information only two lovers would exchange?
Mr. Chairman, how many ways does a senator plan to ask that question? The witness has already responded to it.
For the record, Mr. Estep, did you direct John Franklin to pay certain Justice Department prosecutors various sums of money in exchange for dropping investigations against your companies?
I did not.
Thank you, Mr. Estep.
Dismissed. Did you have
any idea your husband was having an affair with his secretary?
Mr. Estep, why did you break it off with the hunt, dame?
Do you think this will substantially alter your
Mrs.
relationship
Estep
with
has
your
no
husband?
comment. I have no...
How long did it go on?
I'm sorry you had to hear about it that way.
I was all set to take the plane to Rome. But I didn't want to run out on you because I didn't want to see you hurt.
It wasn't the way Jordache made it sound.
All those business trips, they were too boring and too hectic for me to go on. Because you were with her. Because you wanted to spend your time with her.
Claire, it isn't what you think.
I hid that woman in my house. The two of you were laughing at your secret.
No. Now, we were more friends than we were ever...
What's the matter, Charles? Can't you say the word? The word is lovers.
Claire, you're overreacting to something.
You told her about my father. What else did you tell her? That I was lousy in bed? Is that the excuse you gave her for having the affair?
Claire, you're the only woman I have ever cared for. I never cared for her or for any other woman the way I care for you. Look, if you would just allow yourself to believe that, then you'd understand that Sarah Hunt meant nothing to me at all. Nothing. She was a release, that's all.
For 9 years?
You're the one I cared for. And you're the one I need. And you're the one I love.
Tell me, Charles. When you grow tired of me, are you going to have me put in a mental hospital, too?
Claire. We'll talk about this later. You need time to get prepared for the hearing.
Oh. I'm prepared, Charles.
What are you going to say? Could you come up here right away? I want you to make sure that Claire doesn't go anywhere or talk to anyone before she testifies.
I'm sorry, Drew. I've made all the comments on Senator Dillon I'm going to.
I told him you were on the phone, Senator, but...
It's all right, Ramona. No comment, Drew, and you can quote me.
You want to come after me? Fine. I'd love to slug it out with you. But my wife has no place in this.
I think she has, Mr. Estep.
Come on, Senator. You want to grind me into little pieces because that electronics plant of yours went under. And you know there's no way to do it legally. And so you're using these hearings to get at me. Unfortunately, Dillon is turning them into a three-ring circus. And you're coming off like one of the clowns.
Then why aren't you laughing?
You haven't proved one damn thing against me. And you know something? I think you knew you couldn't before you even started this farce.
You bribed those justice lawyers. You had that girl's father murdered. You ordered Sarah Hunt's death.
Not one witness has corroborated those charges. Not a single piece of evidence has been introduced to substantiate them.
We still have a long way to go yet. Stick around. It might prove educational.
Leave my wife alone.
I'll be happy to if you tell me about Albert Dietrich.
Albert Dietrich is a name that a deranged woman whispered in your ear.
Sarah Hunt was terrified, but she wasn't crazy.
I thought these hearings were supposed to be about corruption in the Justice Department.
No, Mr. Estep, they're about corruption in government. And I think that corruption started a long time ago. when an immigration officer named Arthur Raymond allowed your wife into this country. Sarah Hunt said Tricor was built on blood and bodies. I am going to dig every one of them up, starting with Albert Dietrich. Your wife's on next, in executive session. I'm afraid you're not invited.
State your name for the record, please.
Claire Estep.
Mrs. Estep, there seems to be some confusion about your background. Would you mind clarifying it for us?
I'd be happy to.
Where were you born?
Baltimore, Maryland.
And who were your parents?
Ernest and Margaret West.
Were you ever known under another name?
No.
Mrs. Estep, I have been searching for some record of your parents' existence prior to their death in 1949. There isn't any.
Well, that's ridiculous.
I agree. Could you tell the committee a little about them?
My father was an investment banker.
Where was he employed?
I really don't remember.
I've checked every financial institution in Baltimore. None of them ever employed an Ernest West.
Well, I don't know how to answer that. I do know what my father did for a living.
Where did you go to school?
The Lake School for girls, before that public schools.
I have here a copy of a letter from the Dean of Admissions of the Lake School. In it, she states that there's no record of a Claire West ever attending that school.
Well, I should know what school I went to.
Yes, you should. Do you know a man named Arthur Raymond?
He works for my husband.
Did you have occasion to meet Mr. Raymond before he went to work for your husband?
No.
Are you familiar with the name Claire Dietrich?
No.
Claire Dietrich was 13 years old when she entered this country in 1949. How old were you in 1949, Mrs. Estep?
13.
Will the witness speak into the microphone, please? We're having difficulty hearing your replies.
13.
Mrs. Estep, Arthur Raymond was the immigration officer who heard Claire Dietrich's case. I ask you again, did you have occasion to meet Arthur Raymond before he went to work for your husband?
I have already said no.
Doesn't it strike you as coincidence that shortly after Arthur Raymond allowed Claire Dietrich into this country, he left the immigration office and went to work for your husband?
Mr. Chairman, I thank the good Lord that I'm not the witness. I swear I wouldn't know how to answer that question.
Your real name is Claire Dietrich, isn't it?
No.
Your father is Albert Dietrich?
No.
Mr. and Mrs. Ernest West were invented to give you an acceptable background?
No.
Why did your husband have to bribe Arthur Raymond to allow you into this country? Why did he have to invent a set of parents for you? Why has he gone to all of these elaborate measures to remove all trace of Albert Dietrich's existence?
I have never heard of Albert Dietrich.
Mr. Chairman, I am as fond of fishing as the next man, but I think the senator has cast his line into empty waters.
Unless there's a nibble soon, Senator, I suggest you move on.
One final question, Mrs. Estep. What is in your past that was worth $6 million to keep hidden? Request the witness keep herself available for further questioning.
Witness will comply.
How's it going?
By the day, by the week, by the month.
Look, I didn't come in here looking for a place to flop.
What are you doing in a hotel?
I come in looking for a friend. A young blonde-haired fella, about 18 years old, nice, clean cut.
Yeah, you just missed him.
Oh, really?
Hey, he's looking for you, too.
Is that right?
Yeah. Hey, you really got a glass eye?
He's always kidding. Did he tell you where he went? See, we've been trying to connect for a couple of days now.
Yeah, he gave me his phone number in case I seen you.
Well, he's finally using his head.
You know, you two guys don't look like you'd be friends.
Well, we're not really. You see, I used to be shipmates with his father. And now I want to do for the kid what I did for the old man.
I do solemnly swear that the information I am about to give is, to the best of my knowledge, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
State your name for the record.
John Franklin.
Mr. Franklin, where are you employed?
I'm Executive Vice President of Tricor International.
What was your position before that?
Chief Financial Officer.
In your capacity as Chief Financial Officer, were you given any extraordinary duties to perform for Charles Estep?
Could you be more specific, Senator?
Certainly. Did Charles Estep direct you to open Swiss bank accounts for various Justice Department prosecutors?
No, he never did.
May I remind the witness he is under oath?
That's why I answered as I did, Senator.
Mr. Franklin, I have here a series of checks made out to a Swiss bank and signed by you.
I don't deny that.
Well, then, would you tell this committee whom you opened these accounts for?
For myself.
George, what the hell is going on?
The next logical question, I presume, is why did you open those Swiss bank accounts, Mr. Franklin?
Because I was siphoning Tricor funds.
I see. But how does Senator Jordache get his nose into that kind of business?
Well, somehow my lapse of corporate integrity was brought to his attention. He suggested that, in lieu of criminal action, I testify that those accounts were opened for certain Justice Department lawyers at the direction of Charles Estep.
And you agreed to go along with that scheme?
I was frightened. I'm not a young man, Senator. The thought of even a few years in prison did not exactly appeal to me.
Mr. Franklin, we have memos signed by Charles Estep directing you to open those accounts.
They're forgeries. Senator Jordache instructed me to come up with some tangible evidence linking Mr. Estep with bribery in the Justice Department.
That's a lie.
Handwriting analysis will show those signatures are not Mr. Estep's.
He got to you, didn't he?
Who?
Estep.
No, Senator. My conscience got to me.
Mr. Chairman, I move to recess these hearings until tomorrow.
No, Mr. Chairman. Senator Jordache initiated this line of questioning. Now, just because it jumps up and bites him, there's no reason to close these hearings now.
I have been led down the garden path by this witness. Either he's been feeding me false information from the start, or else Charles Estep bought him off with money or threats, or both.
Did Charles Estep threaten you, Mr. Franklin?
No. On the contrary, he kindly offered not to press charges if I would tell the truth here.
And there goes another window pane shattered senator. Well, I, for one, need time to digest all this. I second the motion that we recess until tomorrow morning.
So ordered. 10 o'clock, my office.
Rudy, I'll wait for you outside.
I wish I could say that we were even now, Senator. But you've just started to bleed.